everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Hello, everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Wait, only one of us can be the true Tom Vasel. The other is a very handsome android. Only you can tell. Mike, you'll have to take out one of us.
Chris is making me rethink my decision, I was just going to say. So I wanted to make, I want to have less single-person shows and have more multi-people shows. So I'm going to try to have a guest on Board Game Breakfast each week. And we're doing Chris as an experimental test of that.
Failing so far.
Indeed we are. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. We want to give a couple shout-outs to some of our Kickstarter backers. We have Thor Soderlund, Thomas Hendrickson, Ali from the Family Meeple, Brett Spiel Company, and Anders Burnland. So thank you all for supporting Dice Tower. Speaking of Dice Tower, we're running a Kickstarter right now, DicetowerKickstarter.com. And once we hit our next stretch goal, which will be hopefully soon, I'll have an update with some more interesting things for you all. On that note, we're also going to have a contest here for a copy of Lizard Wizard. You've played Lizard Wizard?
I have. We played it live at the last Spectacular.
That's true. Did you play Lizard Wizard non-live at, well, it was live still, it just wasn't on video, at Gen Con?
No, you played with some other people. Yeah.
All right, some fun folks.
Some fun people, yeah.
So Lizard Wizard, we have a copy of Lizard Wizard, which is the sequel to Raccoon Tycoon, which you can see here in the background. Anywho, you have to win this contest for one copy of this game. So there's going to be one winner. You need to email us at contest@dicetower.com, and in the subject line, put the word magic. And then in the body, answer how many schools of magic are in Lizard Wizard. I do not know the answer to this myself.
I do.
Mike does. I don't know.
Does Mike have it written down? Is that why you know?
I don't have it written down, but I saw the answer.
Oh, you saw the answer.
I would guess that the answer is more than one. So some
That's
help
true. He's narrowed it down for you. This contest is going to be running 2 weeks, so you have plenty of time to enter, but don't delay. All right. So we're going to get started here. I mentioned the Kickstarter, which is a good thing to talk about. Let's go.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today we're talking about Charterstone. This is a legacy game that's also kind of a resource management, worker placement game, which is pretty unique from all the different legacy-style, campaign-style games that we have played previously. There is a plot going on. There's this nefarious, shady character known as the Forever King that you're contending with. He's constantly changing the rules of the game between games, so you have more things to do. You're building out this huge board full of all these different action spots that you can go to gather resources, turn those resources into other things, build buildings, go to those new buildings to get better versions of the resources, all that kinds of stuff going on in this game, but it's all tied together with this legacy system. This was a pretty unique one because we've never seen a legacy game do that before.
Yeah. I mean, this was a very base worker placement game. Place somebody, take them back. And then the next game, there's more places that you can place people. And guess what? The game after that, there's even more places that you can place people. So for me, it was like more of a Euro game than it was a campaign game. For me, it was just a Euro game that we kept getting expansions to.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically true. However, I didn't have a problem with that. Because it was a Euro game, the plot was, the themes are usually a little bit secondary, right, to the mechanisms. And that was
they were.
That's true for this, but I didn't have a problem with that. I liked it. It was a very smooth resource building, engine building kind of a game, which I liked. The artwork was really cute. I thought the little characters that you came across were really fun. Yeah. And they give you special abilities that help you be more efficient, get more victory points. I thought that was great.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It was fun and I liked it. It's just not what I think of when I think of a legacy game.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Everybody, you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. We're Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Everybody, this is Ryan. I'm Bethany. Hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye everybody.
Guys.
In this segment, we take a game based on an IP, and we see if the mechanism of the IP can mesh and bring the IP to life. In this case, we're looking at Pixar's The Good Dinosaur, Roaring River Flow. In this game, the players will work together as different characters from the show. You will cooperatively race down the river to see if everyone can get to the end. If one player gets hit by the water, then all players will lose. It's a spin and move. Not much else to see here, but it does have the one component where it's a wild card, where if you utilize that, you can save somebody else. Most little kids are going to help themselves, so it's a good time to share the rewards that you have during the game. The IP is a little bit lost on me. You do get the characters from the show, which is nice. Here are the dinosaurs you're able. Do you remember these guys? Perhaps. This is the guy that I remember. Now, the IP does come across a little bit because we know that the Arlo had a problem with water in the movie. And as he's going up, he's fighting a sphere. What you're doing in this one is you're racing up here as best that you can. You will spin the spinner. If it lands on a color, you will move to the next available color space. So if I get green, he will move to the next green spot. If you roll a number, the wave will move up this many clicks. If the wave ever hits one of the dinosaurs, then everybody will lose. If all players are able to get to the end, all of them, not one of them, then the players will win. It does not make you feel the aspect of the entire movie of what you're trying to accomplish to get back home. It really just takes that one scene, flops it in a board game, and you go through that. So it does accomplish what it set out to do in that scene, but doesn't necessarily translate to the movie as a greater scale. So this is going to be one for younger gamers. If you have a kid and you want to teach them about sharing and cooperative play, and they like the good dinosaur, this is destined to be a hit for them. Anybody else, it's going to be a purge.
That got us started talking about our favorite Pixar movies.
Yeah.
You said, what was it, WALL-E?
WALL-E, I think, is probably mine.
I'm going with Inside Out.
I haven't seen The Good Dinosaur. I've not heard good stuff about it, though.
No, and I was telling Chris, I saw it and I enjoyed it, but I think it's good. If it was a non-Pixar movie, it might have done better.
Okay,
Maybe.
Expectations, mismatch kind of a thing.
All right, let's taking a look at games 30 years ago, before Chris was born, which is not quite true.
Not quite true.
But you would have been young playing this game.
When I was a wee lad, no, I never actually tried this game, unfortunately.
Loot. So here I'm going to see if I should. I don't know. So Loot came out in '92. It's from Reiner Knizia. I never heard of the game. It's come out in several things until the version that's shown here, the Game Right version. Mm-hmm. And this version was quite popular from what I can tell. It was sold in Walmart. I know I saw it in Walmart.
Yeah.
It was sold in various ways. Game Right manages to get their games all over the place. It's a pretty simple kind of push your luck. You're playing cards in front of you, going around the table, and you want that stuff to still be in front of you when your turn comes again. But it's all luck. It's not really take that, but there's a little bit of that in there where you're trying to, I want to play cards in front of me that make yours not useful anymore. It's fine, but I haven't played it probably in a decade. Well, no, I shouldn't say probably, because I haven't played it since Korea, and I've been here for 11 years now.
Oh, wow, okay.
Or is it 12 years? It's been a while.
So easily more than a decade. You said that the game's okay. Does it seem like it has? Because on your turn you play out a card, whether it's good for you or bad for someone else, or draw a card. Is that kind of where the tension comes from? Like, when's a good time to actually draw?
Sure, because you might not be able to stop somebody, or it's really light, but it works in many situations. I didn't think it was a bad game. I enjoyed playing it. It's just that there's a lot of these really light games out there. I'd rather play Point Salad, No Thanks, some more modern games. But the fact that this one is 30 years old and still doing well makes it pretty impressive. I bet you Knizia sold more Loot than any hot games that came out last year.
I believe that. I mean, like you said, especially because Game Right's edition, Game Right does so good, I think, for getting actually good games out. The Sushi Go being in big box stores probably makes it one of the best-selling games out there that gamers really enjoy. I could see something similar with this.
Well, there you go. 30 years ago, Loot.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about what I'm going to do in 2022. And that is track my board game statistics in terms of plays and maybe wins and stuff like that. Now, how I have done this in the past is I've kept like a long list of games that I've played in sort of basically a spreadsheet. Well, for this year, I decided to purchase the BG Stats app, and I've started using it. It seems pretty intuitive. You can add players, you can add locations, and you can even import your sort of collection from Board Game Geek. And that allows you to effectively say when you play a game, you can say you've played it, you can say who you've played with the expansions, and it seems a relatively good way of me keeping track of things. When I've finished playing a game, I can just tap a few buttons and it's logged. And there's some interesting statistics. All right, at the moment, there's not been too many game days in the year and stuff like that, but I can already see how many games I've played with my wife or with other friends, where I've played most of my games, and even what day of the week. It's an interesting one, and maybe later in the year I'll let you know how it went. But what are you doing differently this year with the hobby of board games? Let us know in the comments section below. And until next time, have a great breakfast.
All right, so this week is going to be a slightly different week. We're running the Kickstarter, so we have 3 more top 100s going up this week. Tomorrow is
80 through
71, and then Wednesday is 70 through 61, and Friday is 60 through 51.
But Tom, you forgot Thursday.
One today. Well, Thursday. Thank you, Chris. Thursday is because we have a top 10 going up that day. Me, Mr. Bonagor, and Jason Levine. Top 10 games we wish were reprinted for various reasons. As it stands, we're also adding a top 10s you would like to see as a stretch goal to the Kickstarter, so you'll be able to vote on top 10 lists that you'd like to see if we get to that goal. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day in America. It is a holiday for many people, so we have pulled back on some of the videos that are going up. This one's going up live. We're actually recording some this morning. We're doing a we're finally playing Kingdom Death Monster. See, the lion is here. Well,
That shows you nothing.
We're going to attempt to play Kingdom Death Monster, and we'll record us playing it and everything, so that will go up later on. You have a review going today.
Yeah, Destiny's Myth and Folklore expansion. There's a few others that are in the pipeline for the week. We don't have the schedule in front of us at the moment.
You think we should? No, there's several reviews that I'm posting this week. I'm going through the full gamut of reviews, also doing some look at some more shelves. But like I said, we got the top 100. So a 4-square review going up this week of Radlands. So we're going through some of these games. I can already tell you next week we'll be doing Return to Dark Tower. But no Q&A from me today, probably. I say probably because there's always a chance I decide to turn on the computer and do one, but I have a lot of other things to get done. And there's also no What's Happening with Z. But one of the reasons I'm not doing a Q&A today is because I'm doing a Q&A on Thursday and on Friday, one with Jason, a Q&A about the Dice Tower Cruise, and one with Tim about Dice Tower West. So hopefully if you're new to either of those cons and you want to learn more about them, that's a good place to do so. Also, tomorrow we have a live play of Yucatan, the sequel to Kemet. So come by and see what that's like. So lots of things coming out this week, just not a lot of things coming out today. So that's what's coming out this week.
Hello, Proti here, your Romanian content creator, and today I will continue my series where I will talk about a specific part in a game. Here we will talk about the performance track in Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall is one of the more, from Garfield Games, is one of the more complex flip and writes on the market. You will get different resources and people where you will build buildings, build a wall, get protected from the attacks from the barbarians, and everything to move up on those 4 main tracks, which give you points at the end of the game. And in the meantime, you will work towards the goals that you will get during the game, which will give you some points too at the end of the game. And one of my favorite things is that in Hadrian's Wall you cannot focus on everything because it's just like I said, a big flip and write, and you have to focus it going some direction, some citizen tracks, some buildings, let's say economic buildings, and so on and so forth. So you have to think about what direction you want to go. You cannot do everything. And one direction that I always like to go is somehow include the performance tracks in my game. In the performance track, you will have the theater and the gladiators, ludus, where what is interesting is that you get nice symbols, you get symbols that help you during the game, get different resources during the performances, and during the fights of the gladiators you will get again symbols on the main tracks, and even if a gladiator dies and you cannot use him anymore, then in that round that he dies you get some symbols for another main track, which is interesting. But what is nice is that it's telling you cannot fight more than one fight with each of those 2 gladiators, and after one is dead you cannot use him anymore. anymore, and you can just have one performance a year, which then actually is making really easy using those performance tracks, because you know, okay, I need the resources to have one performance this year or have 2 fights with the gladiators. The rest I can use in the other things that I was trying to do. So it's making it a bit easier, but in the same time I feel it's really powerful and interesting to use these performance tracks correctly. So this is what I wanted to say about the performance tracks in Hadrian's Wall. Have a nice breakfast.
Yeah, so it's a little north of us.
Yeah, I don't think we quite count as living in the Radlands.
Redlands. Someone mentioned Redlands. That's very close to where we are here in Florida. Redlands is where a good chunk of your oranges come from. Well, no. I mean, they're all over South Florida, but South Florida's there's tons of fruit trees.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
All right.
Whoa. Seeing how the sausage gets made, this is embarrassing.
All right, Chris, how many games do you need to play to review a game?
You want an actual number?
I do.
Well, you have to have played at least one.
I agree. Now, so talking about that today is like, how many board games do you need to have played to be on the Dice Tower, for example?
Okay.
And the answer is one. Now, does experience matter?
Yeah, in the same sentence, in the same light that, yeah, experience matters, right? There's a reason that a lot of people do defer to your opinion on reviews of games, but I think that also fresh perspectives matter. I think different levels of experience are useful for reviews because a lot of people have not been in the hobby for over a decade. A lot of people have been in the hobby for less than a year and they start watching a channel like the Dice Tower. So it's nice to have an experienced perspective, but also new people kind of coming in. I say that as one of the newest people at the Dice Tower, so I hope that people say, hey, this Chris guy, I haven't seen him around before. Hopefully he offers something fresh and interesting to say.
Yeah, well, this part of this came from some comments. I responded to someone on YouTube where they said if someone wants to talk on the Dice Tower, they should have played all these great games, right? But that number's going to go up consistently. Do you need to have played Catan, Dominion, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, and whatever ambiguous list it needs to be?
Sure. Oh, you haven't played Agricola or Caelus. How could someone not have played Caelus? A lot of people haven't.
Have you?
I have, yeah.
Oh. All right, what's like a big game that you haven't played? Like one that...
Well, I mean, for example, I hadn't played Agricola until like the last Dice Tower West. You know, and there's just games that you aren't gonna touch. I haven't played Arkham Horror, the Fantasy Flight one, right? I haven't played, well, second or third edition, but I enjoyed that style of game. It's just sometimes you miss one.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, there's no way. So I agree with Chris. I think that experience matters to some degree. And I think that having a wide breadth of games lets you talk authoritatively about games. That certainly helps.
You'd hope so, as you do.
Well, yes. I played, I don't know, I always raise the number every year, 8,000 games. But it's somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 games, right? That's a lot of games. Chris will never catch me unless I die or give up board gaming.
Catch me outside, how about that?
No, but I mean, you play a lot of games every year, but so do I. So if to come on the Dice Tower, you need to play the same amount of games I've played. Not going to happen, unless, of course, you happen to have played games forever like me, and I don't want just old people on the show. But I also don't think that there is a ladder of games to have played. I think the more games you play, the better it is, but I think a fresh perspective helps. Like we talked about Pixar movies earlier. I don't think you need to see every Pixar movie to say if a Pixar movie is good or not.
No.
And this matters because my kids will come in and they don't have this experience with all these games. We just played Return to Dark Tower yesterday with my kids, and a lot of the mechanisms, they said, I've never seen a game that does this. And I'm like, well, there are games that do some of the things that they were talking about. Some of the, pandemic-y style things that happen in the game they hadn't seen because they've not played Pandemic. But they don't have to, and maybe they never will. And that's not a deficiency. And I really think that the Dice Tower does better the more voices it has. That's why we will bring on new people. And I don't care if you've played games from more than 2 years ago. I will get on your case about it. And we say that all the time here. but that's more of a joke. I'll be like, Chris, you gotta play this.
Right, well, I haven't played Loot, which we just covered about 10 minutes ago. How dare I talk about any, the newest Reiner Knizia? How could I review Blue Lagoon or what's a newer Knizia game that just came out?
Babylonia.
Babylonia. How could I talk about that if I don't have Loot, experience under my belt? There's something useful about going back, and I think that is one thing that does happen is naturally as you kind of get into gaming and you start becoming a reviewer or however it is, you do have that interest to kind of go back, but you can't have an opinion about police procedural shows unless you watched Starsky and Hutch, or Chips. There's no need to have that baseline of what people can say, but there is some value, I guess, to experience. Naturally, we want to play some older games and kind of get an idea of where some of the modern stuff comes from.
Now, I will say that if you are going to be a reviewer, I think that you should, as time goes by, learn about these games.
Yeah.
Go and say, I don't know anything about Agricola. Go look it up online, learn a little bit about it. You don't have to play it or anything. If you want to be able to speak authoritatively, I haven't played. There's a lot of games I haven't played, and I won't play. I won't play ASL, for example, as Advanced Squad Leader, and there's a possibility I won't play On Mars. I was just thinking about that this morning because I was like, I'm crossing Kingdom Death Monster off my list. Now On Mars is the other one in the top. Well, there's that and Lisboa. And maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I don't have to. But I still go look at them. I look through the rules. I read what people say about them because I want to have a knowledge about them. But I don't think that knowledge needs to preclude things. When someone comes on, I'm like, these are things. But I think it's helpful, and I think it's something you should always be learning as you go. But sometimes a big, giant knowledge can be a hindrance. So we're playing a new game, and I'll say, oh, well, Chris, I know that this is the first cooperative game you've ever played, but Pandemic does this, and this does this, and this does this, and this. And these are all games that you have no reference to.
Sure.
And that means nothing to you then.
Well, as you said, for example, your kids are going to grow up and be gamers, or new people who have just started playing games don't have to play Pandemic before they can play any other cooperative game and say, this is amazing, I've never seen a game do this before, I enjoy it, I love it.
I still remember the first time I played that dumb Noah's Ark game, I forget the name of the game, and had roll and move. My kids were like, we've never seen a game where you roll a die and then move that many spaces. And I was like, oh. They're like, that's a new mechanism. That's cool. And that's what I like. I like that gaming is all this. If you're watching this, never feel bad that you haven't played whatever. Who cares? Have fun, play what you play. We rail on the cult of the new and the cult of the future a lot here. But if the new is what you're playing, have fun doing it. You don't have to go back and hunt down these old out-of-print games. You can have fun playing what you have now. Experience is just have a good time playing games and be able to talk about it. That's what I think.
Hi, I'm Jordan. This is Weeknight Games, where I talk about a great game to play on a weeknight. Now, this is Nidavellir. Now, I was probably a little late to Nidavellir, but this one is really, really fantastic. Everybody was talking about how awesome it was at the beginning of 2020, and I didn't play it till the beginning of 2021. And apparently, it's still a fantastic game. So in this game, you are dwarves doing dwarvy things where you're bidding on the other dwarves. I'm not totally clear on what you're doing in this game, but you're going to have these coins that have different values on them, and you're going to kind of program a bid for the cards that are laid out on the table, and you are flip the coins over, and then you get to draft a card at the table, and the order of the draft goes along with the value of the coins that you flipped over. And then you're going to be amassing some dwarven posse of dwarves and score points, because that's what dwarves do. And it just works super well. Some of the cards are going to score based off of multiples. Some of the cards are going to be scored based off of points on them, sets that you collect, different things like that. It's a set collection game through and through. But the artwork is super fun, even though the theme is real thin. But the artwork is fantastic. The production is really great. And this one is just one that really sings for us. It's not I wouldn't say it's an auction game, because I don't even really like auction games that much, but it has a nice bidding mechanic where it's just a one-time bid, and even if you tie, you don't have to up your bid. It's just there's a easy tiebreaker system, nice and smooth. This one has not fallen for me yet with anybody I've played with. Really enjoy this one. Check it out if you haven't. I was a year late, and the game was still good. So if you're a year and a half late, I bet the game will still be good. Nidavellir. I'm Jordan.
All right, today I'm taking a look at a video game, Horizon Zero Dawn, which I realized has a board game that Mike played and says is terrible.
Mike's giving us the thumbs down right now.
He is. And I looked at it. The miniatures look really good, but it's made by Steamforged, and their games typically are pretty bad. So I'm not here to talk about the board game, but I'm talking about the video game. Horizon Zero Dawn takes place in a post-apocalypse.
Post.
Well, post-apocalypse is like, oh, the Earth was destroyed, now we're surviving. This is beyond that, where the Earth was destroyed ages ago. Now people have their own, the new civilization's already there.
Okay, so
What are
this
you
is
doing? Oh, you're... Like, why are you... Mike,
I'm trying to stay relevant, Tom.
Mike, you're killing me here. All right. Anyhow, yeah, so it's in the future. Society is at a... it's kind of a weird... It is post-apocalyptic. I guess they have guns and stuff. Well, they actually use a lot of bow and arrows. That's mostly the weapons. They're bow and arrows and slings. There's a few guns, but mostly bow and arrow and slings. However, what's cool about this is apparently in the past somewhere they made these machines that look like animals. And so there's these evil machines that are roaming around. It's an open world game where you start as an outcast, someone thrown out of your tribe for reasons you don't know. And there's a pretty big lore in the story. And then you just go around and you can hunt these monster creatures, you get parts off them, upgrade your weapons and things like that. You fight humans occasionally and you go through the story, and it is, well, that's basically the game. You've not played it, I'm assuming.
I've not, but someone sold me on it in 2 words. Robot dinosaurs.
Yes. So there's I want to say there's 20 to 30 different robot dinosaurs. And when I first heard that, I thought, that's it? But each one feels really very realized. Like I now, when I see some of them, like I've been encountering these crocodile ones.
Oh man.
Which are scare the snot out of me, because usually I see a dinosaur and they're on the other side of the river and I'll be like, what are you going to do about it? And these were like, oh, no. And then there's ones that jump. There's a T-Rex one I just ran into, which I cannot beat that one yet. There's birds, and they're very animal, but the way that they work is just fantastic. I love this game because it's like any open world game where there's a main mission, 6,000 side missions, and I really have to force myself to say, let's go back to the main mission. Now, I think the storyline's pretty cool. Okay. It's a girl at the very beginning. You see her as a baby, and there's you play with her as like a 6-year-old for a brief amount of time. Okay. It's because there's an important thing that happens in her life. She gets this little focus piece that lets you scan things.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and then it goes to her as a young adult, and the storyline starts from there. And I don't want to spoil it. In fact, according to the game, I'm 23% in, which doesn't feel very far. But I've also played it for like 30 hours. So
what you're telling me is that you've played this game 0 times, in total. So are you qualified to review it?
Anyhow, no, but with the video games, I really like it because I like open worlds. There's a few small things. This game came out, I think, 3 months before Breath of the Wild.
And that's the one I've played, the big, massive open world game, because I only have time for maybe one at a time, and I haven't even touched that in a while.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at too. So this is the only game I play, video game-wise. It's not as good of a movement, run around, do stuff system as Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's a better mechanical system. Not eons better, but slightly better. But this world feels much more lived in. One problem I had with Breath of the Wild is it feels like there's 50 people in that kingdom. You see that the traveler, who's the same guy in Breath of the Wild, on all the roads. Beetle, is that his name or whatever? Yeah. And then when you get close to one of the 5 villages, there's people in a lot more places. You'll come across them walking on roads and stuff. I don't know. And the civilizations feel very distinct, although they did in Breath of the Wild too. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking about Breath of the Wild. I like it. The voice acting is really well done. The main character, I forget her name, but she's the same person who did the Borderlands, Tiny Tina, although I would not have known that if I hadn't read it because they're very different voices.
That's cool.
And the voice acting's good, except sometimes when they're doing some of the voice acting in the game, I want to not look at the screen because the uncanny valley is really strong.
Oh, okay.
I felt. And sometimes the expressions on their faces, but that's because they didn't, as far as I can tell, they don't ever want to go to cutscenes. So like when you see people talking, it's kind of zoomed in on how the character actually looks.
So it's all the same render graphics as the gameplay.
And that's fine because that doesn't take you out of it. Because sometimes I remember back when I used to play Final Fantasy VII, and you had the polygon guy, and suddenly there was a cutscene. You're like, wait, are these the same people?
Yeah.
Cloud's supposed to look very blocky, but I really like the game so far. I'm not sure where I'd rank it in the pantheon of games, but the open world part is amazing, and fighting the creatures is so exhilarating. Even creatures that I fought 50 times, I'm sitting there trying to think, okay, there's a herd of these, dinosaurs or whatever creatures they are. I want to kill them all. So I'm going to like ping one and get him to chase me and kill him. But if I alert them all, do I turn and run? What weapons I use? You can freeze them. You can set traps, which I really like. You can put like a wire across the road. They run into it and it stops them. And then you can, wail on them until they recover from that, which is good until you realize they had 2 other dinosaurs in the bushes you didn't know about. Clever girl that jump out and get you. Fantastic game. I know the sequel to it is coming out in less than a month, and I don't know how I'm going to handle that.
Is this, what do you play it on, PS5?
I'm playing it on the PS5, but it was a PS4 game.
Oh, okay.
So I'm playing it on the PS5, and it runs super smoothly, and now I'm debating, do I finish this one before I play the new one, or do I play the new one when it comes out?
FOMO, Tom. FOMO. I don't know actually what that means in your decision, but I'm just going to yell it at you. FOMO.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, that's Horizon Zero Dawn. Really loved the game.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dave Luza.
I'm Ilka Luza.
And today we played a game that we really love.
Yes, that we already liked, but we found a different way to play it to make it even more fun.
Yes.
We're talking, of course, about Patchwork Doodle.
And normally you just doodle a bit, and it's a pretty quick game. But we turned a 20-minute game, as we like to do, into a 2-hour game.
Yeah.
And only using, crafts art. This time we used watercolor to fill in our sheets. Try to make it look nice.
Yeah, we also did in the past, we did it with Legos. We had viewers of our stream do it on a canvas. I know someone did a pizza. So there's multiple ways to make this great game even more fun. But what is the base game, Dave?
Yes. It is a game where you're trying to fill a 9x9 grid with these shapes. And we've got this little meeple and a die, and he will move a certain amount of steps, and then everyone draws this shape on their sheet. After 3 rounds with intermediate scoring, you're trying to completely fill your board because empty spaces are minus points. And you start with one of these bigger shapes. Everyone has a different one, so everyone starts a little bit different.
Very weird looking big shapes.
But it is the art that is the fun. Well, I'm not calling it art. It's just me using some colors.
I think it's art. I mean, this is a great way. This is what I did today. I didn't score so well, I have to say. I had 94 points opposed to Dave's 105. One of our viewers had 130. But I loved what I was doing while I was doing it. So I had a lot of fun playing the game in a different way. And we really recommend doing that.
Yes. So just take your time. Even if it is a short game, it doesn't have to be short.
Oh, you can take 2 hours for it.
Yes. As long as you're enjoying yourselves.
Yes.
And you can cut pieces up. And there are so many different ways.
Exactly.
To do
There's
this.
some bonuses to bend the rules, which is also very fun. And we are very curious what your results are going to be. So if you want to give us some feedback, what are your artworks looking like?
Thanks for watching. My name is Dave Luza.
I'm Ilka Luza.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And
By the way, we like Final Fantasy VII. We were just talking about that. I was talking about that. There's polygonal figures in it, but that's one of my favorite games.
Well, you're talking about the contrast too, going from boop 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 to like the really good cutscenes they had.
Yeah,
stark contrast.
I'm really struggling, by the way, with this new Final Fantasy. I downloaded it, played it, and just couldn't get into it because it's not the same game. And I know that that's
old man yelling at cloud kind of.
Yeah, and I don't want to be that way, but nah. Anyway, okay, folks. I hear we just hit our next stretch goal in the Dice Tower Kickstarter, which means as soon as we're done here, turn this off, I'm going to write an update. That update's going to show you a future stretch goal, but also we're going to be adding digital rewards. Many people have been asking for this especially overseas, for shipping purposes. So we're going to add some digital rewards and things to the Kickstarter. So thank you all to our backers. Thank you to everybody. I hope you have a fantastic week. Like I said, not a lot of content from us today, but we have a lot coming out this week. We hope you enjoy it. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Chris Yee.
Have fun eating breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.